The Force is light and full of shadows.
Before we dive in, check the link in the description if you want exclusive Timelines members-only videos you won't find on YouTube, all on our Patreon. The Jedi High Council chamber sits at the peak of the temple's central spire, 500 meters above Coruscant's perpetual skyline. Dawn light bleeds through the tall windows, pale gold, almost cold. The city stretches in every direction to the horizon, an ocean of steel and light that never sleeps, never stills. From up here, the Republic looks eternal. The vote has already happened. He can see it in the way they sit, 12 masters arranged in their circle, each face composed into the particular stillness that Jedi mistake for wisdom. Master Windu speaks. The words are measured, deliberate, wrapped in the language of protocol and necessity. Ahsoka Tano is to be expelled from the Jedi Order. She will stand trial before a Republic military tribunal. The Council has determined that distance is appropriate. Anakin does not move. He has stood in this chamber hundreds of times. He knows the grain of the stone floor beneath his boots, knows the quality of light at every hour of the morning, knows the exact acoustics of the room, the way a voice carries when you speak from the center, how it feels to be surrounded by the circle and watched from all sides. He has never felt what he feels now. The knowledge sits in his chest like something structural has given way. She is one of our own, he says. Mace Windu's expression does not change. She was. The evidence against her is extensive. Skywalker, the Council, has weighed this carefully. Carefully, the word lands wrong. He turns it over, examines it, finds nothing inside it that resembles the girl he trained. Ahsoka, who talked back before she knew his name. Ahsoka, who held the line on Ryloth when veterans twice her age broke. Ahsoka, who watched him lose his temper in a dozen different directions and never stopped following him anyway, because she trusted him to be worth following. Carefully, you're handing her to Tarkin, Anakin said. You understand that. You're handing her to a man who has already decided she's guilty and letting him run the trial. The Republic's legal process is being used as a weapon against a 16-year-old girl who has served this order her entire life. His voice does not rise. This is the part that surprises him. The cold. He expected anger. He has always been the one who feels too much, too loudly. What moves through him now is something quieter and more dangerous. She came to us. She asked for help. And we are expelling her. Yoda's eyes are on him from across the circle. Ancient, measuring, difficult. This situation is, the old master says. But the Council has spoken. The decision stands. The decision stands. As if it were a wall. As if it were gravity. As if 12 people sitting in a circle could make something true by agreeing to it. Anakin looks at each face in turn. Ki-Adi Mundi. Kit Fisto. Plo Koon Plo, who found her, who has known her since she was 3 years old and brought her to this temple with his own hands. Each of them has voted. Each of them has decided that the process matters more than the person inside it. He has heard this argument before. Not from Jedi, from a different kind of room, a different hour. From someone who has spent decades watching institutions make exactly this decision, and has spent years, patiently, making sure Anakin understood what institutions always choose in the end. He files the thought. There is not time for it now. He says nothing else. He turns and walks out of the council chamber, and the door closes behind him and the sound of it echoes down the corridor for a long time. The turbolift descends in silence. Anakin watches the temple levels scroll past through the narrow viewport, archives, training halls. The dormitory floors where younglings are already awake and moving through morning exercises. The ordinary machinery of an institution that considers itself righteous. Somewhere below him, in a holding cell in the Coruscant detention complex, Ahsoka is waiting for someone to tell her what happens next. He presses his knuckles against the viewport. He is thinking about Palpatine. Not deliberately. He has not decided to think about the Chancellor. But the thought is there, insistent, the way thoughts are when they have been waiting in a room you haven't entered, and you have finally, unavoidably, entered it. The Chancellor's voice comes back to him clearly. With the particular clarity of things said often enough that they have worn grooves in memory, they will always choose the order. Anakin. When the test comes, when the choice is between the institution and the person inside it, they will choose the institution. They always do. History is full of the people who trusted them not to. At the time, Anakin had heard it as the honest assessment of a man who had spent 50 years watching the Senate, watching governance, watching the slow machinery of civilization grind through the people who believed in it. Cynical, maybe, but earned. The kind of truth that costs something to say. He had not, at the time, asked why the Chancellor was building such a careful account of the Jedi's failures. He had not asked what the account was for. He is asking now. The archive level scrolls past, the dormitory floors. The answer arranges itself with the clarity of things understood exactly on time and not a moment before. Palpatine has been building this for years, collecting every Jedi failure, every institutional choice that put the Order above the person, every moment when the Circle of 12 voted against the human cost of their own certainty. Building the case. Patient. Waiting for the moment when the case would arrive at Anakin's door in the most personal possible form. Not abstract. Not political. Ahsoka. His Padawan. 16 years old, expelled without evidence, handed to Tarkin. And in that moment, which is this moment, which is the exact moment the Chancellor has spent years arranging, the hand will extend from the dark. I told you. I always told you. Come to me. The power I offer is better than what they take from you. The trap is real. He has felt it at the edge of things for years, without being able to see its shape. Now he can see it. Standing in a turbolift watching the temple fall away above him, he can see the entire architecture of it, the careful cultivation of his grief and his anger and his capacity for righteous fury, the precise positioning of Palpatine as the one honest voice in a room full of institutional dishonesty. And the honest voice is not wrong about the dishonesty. The Order has just failed Ahsoka. That part is true. What it is wrong about is what follows from that truth. Because the conclusion the trap requires, the institutions have failed you, therefore accept what I'm offering, only works if there is no third option. If the choice is genuinely binary. If Anakin cannot think of anything else to do when the people he loves are in danger, and the structures he trusted are the source of the danger. He presses his forehead against the cool permacrete of the viewport. He can think of something else to do. It is louder and more dangerous, and involves a detention complex on the eastern edge of the government district, and 32 men in blue armor, who he has not yet spoken to, but whose answer he already knows before the question is asked. It does not involve Palpatine at all. And it will cost him everything the Order can take from him, his rank, his standing. The comfortable fiction that the rules are for other people, the institutional identity he has been carrying since he was 9 years old, and Obi-Wan first brought him to this building. The turbolift stops. The doors open. He straightens. Palpatine is right about one thing. He is right about what the Jedi choose. The Order has just proved him right. In the coldest possible laboratory, with Ahsoka as the experiment. And Anakin is going to use that truth the way Palpatine never intended it to be used, not as a reason to take what's being offered in the dark, but as proof that the only path forward is one that the trap does not account for. The trap requires him to be isolated, to run out of people he trusts, to arrive at the moment when Palpatine's hand is the only hand in the room. He is going to spend the next several hours making sure that does not happen. He walks to the barracks level. Rex is already in the briefing room. Not the official one, the small room off the 501st's assigned section, the one with the mismatched chairs and the tactical display that jams if you look at it wrong, and the particular smell of gear cleaner and recirculated air that means clone quarters, not Republic facility. Rex has served beside him since Christophsis. He doesn't wait for Anakin to sit. He just looks at him and reads whatever is on his face and says, quietly, "How bad?" They voted to expel her. Anakin drops into the nearest chair. She goes to tribunal. Tarkin's prosecution. Rex is still for a long moment. The kind of still that isn't calm. It's a man deciding something, working through it, arriving somewhere he already knew he was going to arrive before he started. She didn't do it, Rex said. No, and the council decided. He leans forward, elbows on knees, and stares at the floor between his boots. They weight it carefully. Rex absorbs this. He sets down the helmet in his hands, slowly, precisely, the way he does everything, and straightens to his full height. "The boys won't like it," Rex says. "The 501st. They've bled next to her. Most of them have served under her direct command at least once." He pauses. Umbara, Onderon, they remember. "I know. If someone were to, hypothetically, want to have a conversation with those men about what they're willing to do for a general they trust." Rex's voice is perfectly level. That conversation could happen. Hypothetically, Anakin looks up. Rex looks back at him. The man's face is its usual mask of professional calm, but something lives underneath it, the same thing that made him disobey Krell, that made him pull his weapon on his own commanding officer on Umbara, because what was happening was wrong, and Rex understood that wrong things don't stop being wrong, because someone with rank orders you to accept them. "She came back for us," Rex said, "at the Citadel. She didn't have to. She was told to stay behind, she had no authority, and she came back." He picks the helmet back up. Seems like the kind of thing you remember. "Rex," Anakin keeps his voice level, but he needs to say this clearly because the men deserve to walk into this with the whole picture in hand. This isn't a sanctioned operation. If this goes wrong, if Fox has better intelligence than we think, if anything breaks sideways in that facility, there is no version where the Order protects us. No version where the Republic gives us the benefit of the doubt. He holds Rex's gaze. "We will be fugitives. The Council will have to act against us. And whoever the Republic sends to bring us in won't be someone who doesn't know what they're doing." Rex is quiet for a moment. Then, "The men know that, sir. They know exactly what it means." He meets Anakin's eyes. "It's why it took me 10 minutes to have the hypothetical conversation, and why nobody argued." The early morning light is flat and gray through the small window. Somewhere in the city below, a transport rises out of the lower levels, running lights blinking, and disappears into the cloud layer. Anakin straightens. The decision has not formed the way decisions usually do, with deliberation and doubt, and the careful weighing of consequences. It is simply there, whole, the way it sometimes is, the way it was on Tatooine, the way it was at the Citadel, the way it always is when the situation becomes simple enough that only one answer remains. He is not leaving her there. "Get the men together," Anakin said. Quietly, full kit, no colors. Rex nods once. "Already moving." "And Rex." He stops him at the door. "Non-lethal only. Every man understands that before we move. These are our brothers on the other side of this. Fox's boys. Whatever happens in that facility, nobody dies." Rex holds his gaze. The weight of what they are both agreeing to sits in the room like a third presence. "Understood, General." He goes. Anakin sits alone in the small room with the mismatched chairs, and the city hums below him, and somewhere across Coruscant the tribunal is being assembled, and the clock is already running. He reaches into the Force. Ahsoka is alive. Frightened, though she would never say so. Waiting, he pulls his mind back, stands, and begins to plan. The 501st Legion's assigned hangar bay on the temple's lower levels is not supposed to be occupied at this hour. It is occupied. 32 men stand in loose formation between two Lodi gunships, armor already on, weapons already racked and checked. As if the order had been given before it was given. The hangar bay smells of fuel and metal, and the particular industrial cold of a space that exists to move things rather than house them. Overhead lighting throws hard shadows across 32 sets of blue-painted pauldrons. Nobody is talking. Rex stands at the front, helmet under his arm. Anakin walks in and stops. He looks at them. Fives, Jesse, Tup, Kix, a dozen others whose names and histories he carries the way he carries his lightsaber, as part of his own weight. They look back at him. The formation is not quite military. Nobody called attention. Nobody is pretending this is a normal briefing. They are here because they decided to be here, and the distinction matters. Fives is the one who speaks. "We heard," he said. The whole base heard. Expelled and handed to Tarkin. He shifts his weight, arms crossed. We had some thoughts. Did you? Collective thoughts. Unanimous, Fives glances sideways at Jesse, who gives a short nod. The general consensus among the men of the 501st is that Commander Tano is innocent, the tribunal is political, and the council made a bad call. The council made a bad call, Anakin repeated. Respectfully, sir, something moves through him, the specific weight of being trusted by people who have every reason to be more careful. He thinks about the trap, about what it requires and what, standing in this hangar in the early morning dark, it has failed to account for. This is what it has failed to account for. Kick steps forward from the second row. The medic carries himself differently from the others, quieter, always measuring. General, whatever you're planning, whatever happens in that facility, I'm going. Someone has to make sure nobody bleeds out in a corridor. Nobody's supposed to bleed out. We're running stun only. Stun rounds can still cause cardiac events in older subjects. Kix meets his eye. I'm going. Anakin looks at Rex. Rex looks back at him, and his expression says, I told you. All right, Anakin said. He moves to the tactical display at the hangar bay's eastern wall, the small portable unit Rex has already propped up and loaded with a rough schematic. The detention complex renders in thin blue lines, incomplete, stitched together from public transit maps and maintenance records, and what Rex's network has been able to pull in the last 90 minutes. It is not enough, and it is what they have. Here's what we know, he said. The Republic Judiciary Central Detention Center, the military block for those of us who don't read tribunal announcements, sits on the eastern edge of the government district. Panopticon design. That means a central watchtower with sightlines into every cell block simultaneously. Before we move a single person through that facility, that tower has to be neutralized. Jesse studies the schematic. Guards, Coruscant Guard, Fox's unit. The shift in the room is subtle, a collective recalibration, not reluctance but acknowledgement. These men know Commander Fox the way soldiers know soldiers they have never served under but have heard enough about. Competent, loyal, genuinely dangerous in the particular way that comes from believing completely in what you're doing. Non-lethal, Rex said, clearly to the room. The general has already established the rule. These are our brothers. They're doing their jobs. We stun them, restrain them, and we leave them breathing. If I find out anyone escalated beyond stun, I will personally ensure that man spends the rest of the war pulling latrine duty on Hoth. Are we clear? 32 voices. Unison. Sir. Fox runs Phase 2 armor, Anakin said. DC-15A rifle, a pair of DC-17 hand blasters. His men are identically equipped. That means range is his advantage. He wants distance between his unit and ours. Our advantage is that we are going in at night, on a schedule of our choosing, and we will have already cut power to the block before anyone knows we're inside. Jesse raises a hand. Cutting power drops the ray shields? The cell ray shields are electronic. No power, no shields. Anakin taps the schematic. It also drops their communications relay for approximately 4 minutes before the backup generator initializes. 4 minutes is our entire operational window for the cell block extraction. The hangar is quiet. That's tight, Fives said. That's why we're not wasting time discussing it. Anakin steps back from the display. 3 teams. Rex leads extraction. 6 men, direct route to Ahsoka's cell block, moves the moment power drops. Fives. You take a 4-man team to the central watchtower. You don't need to hold it. You need to blind it. Emp the surveillance array and get out. Jesse. Your team controls the 2 entry choke points in the south corridor. Blast doors and ray shield segments. You are the reason extraction gets back out. Jesse nods once, already running the geometry in his head. And you, General? Rex asks. I'm with extraction. He pauses. I'm also the reason we don't have a problem with the blast doors. Fives makes a sound that in a less disciplined soldier would be a laugh. Weapons check, Rex said, and the formation breaks into purposeful motion. The specific organized chaos of men who have done this enough times to move fast without moving sloppy. Kix opens his medical kit on a crate and inventories it with the methodical speed of someone who has learned the hard way what you regret leaving behind. Tup is already confirming EMP grenade distribution with Jesse in the low-focused tones of men working a logistics problem. A conversation that has apparently been running since before Anakin walked in. Anakin watches them. He thinks about the council chamber this morning. 12 seats, 12 composed faces. The pale gold light. He thinks about the word carefully, and what it costs to be careful with the wrong things. These men are not being careful. They are making a choice with full knowledge of what it means, and they are making it because they believe it's right. And the distance between those two things, between institutional caution and personal conviction, is the distance that has always defined the 501st. Not recklessness, not disorder, a different kind of discipline. One built around something more specific than the Republic and older than the war. Fives appears at his shoulder. General, he keeps his voice low enough that only Anakin hears. She's okay, right? You'd know. Through the Force, or whatever. He is trying not to make the question sound like what it is. Which is, she isn't scared. Is she? Does she know we're coming? Anakin considers the answer. She's holding, he said. Fives nods. Something settles in his face. Good, he starts to move away, then stops. For what it's worth, what the council did. Expelling her. He doesn't finish the sentence. He turns it into something else instead. She pulled us out of the Citadel. When nobody ordered her to, when she had no rank and no authority and she'd been told to stay behind. She came anyway. He checks the charge pack on his DC-17. Seems like the kind of debt that has a specific repayment. He goes to join his team. Rex appears where Fives was standing, as if they work in rotation. Transport situation. Rex said, I've requisitioned 2 civilian cargo haulers from the lower port. No military markings. Nothing that traces back to the 501st. We move in civilian vehicles, kit stowed, to within 6 blocks of the facility. We walk the last stretch in small groups. 3 minutes between each group. And after extraction, Fives has a safe house. Friend of a contact of a contact. Don't ask me the chain. It's clean, it's off-grid, and it holds 35 people comfortably. Rex pauses. After that is your call, General. He has not yet thought past the cell block. The rest of it, the legal exposure, the political fallout, the certain fact that breaking Ahsoka out of Republic custody will make them fugitives by morning, lives in a compartment he is keeping sealed for now. Because the first objective is the only objective, and everything that comes after it, comes after it. He clips his lightsaber to his belt. Move time is 200, Anakin said. Get some rest. 2 hours. Nobody moves toward their bunks. He hadn't expected them to. Coruscant at 200 is not dark. It is never dark. The city planet doesn't permit it, doesn't understand the concept, burns through the night on 10,000 levels of commerce and transit, and the particular restless energy of a civilization that has forgotten how to stop. But the government district has its own rhythm, slower than the entertainment blocks, slower than the spaceport rings. At this hour the broad avenues carry maintenance droids and late-shift bureaucrats, and the occasional Coruscant Guard patrol moving in pairs, unhurried, confident in the way that men are confident when they don't yet know the thing that is coming. 6 blocks from the detention complex, a civilian cargo hauler settles onto a side platform and cuts its engines. 32 men in non-military clothing step out in groups of 4 3 minutes apart and disappear into the city. Rex moves through the service corridor at a pace that looks unhurried to anyone watching from a distance and is, in practice, a controlled run. Anakin is 2 steps behind him. The extraction team, 6 men total, kicks at the rear, flows through the shadow between 2 maintenance buildings without breaking stride. Nobody speaks. They have rehearsed the route twice in the cargo hauler using Rex's hand-drawn schematic and the kind of spatial memory that years of urban combat builds into a man's legs without him noticing. The outer wall of the detention complex rises ahead. It is not the imposing structure civilian imagination would design. Utilitarian, ferrocrete and durasteel, no aesthetic consideration whatsoever, built to hold rather than to intimidate. Surveillance arrays line the upper edge at 15-meter intervals. Inside those arrays, inside the central watchtower, guards sit at displays watching every corridor, every cell block, every approach. Anakin checks his wristcom. 0211, Fives' team has 4 minutes. He reaches out with the Force and finds the wall's maintenance panel, behind a locked external access hatch, behind a Grade 3 security seal. He does not waste time on the seal. He closes his hand and the hatch buckles inward with a sound like a cough metal folding on itself, and the panel is exposed. Rex is already at it. His hands move across the circuit board with the specific certainty of a man who spent 30 minutes in the cargo hauler memorizing exactly which relay to pull. He pulls it. Nothing visible happens. No alarm, no light change, no dramatic signal to the city around them. Somewhere inside the facility, power to the cell block dies, and 32 ray shields drop simultaneously. And 4 minutes begin. Moving, Rex said into the comm. The service entrance yields to a bypass Fives' contact provided, a single-use code that will stop working in 6 hours, and has never been logged in any Republic database that Fox's men would think to check. The door opens. The corridor inside is dark, emergency lighting only, the kind of dim red glow that turns everything into shadows and planes. The extraction team moves in. The hallway smell hits first, antiseptic and stale recycled air, and something underneath it that detention facilities always carry. The accumulated weight of people waiting in small rooms. Anakin sets it aside. The first blast door is 20 meters ahead, currently open because the power interruption has frozen its mechanism mid-cycle. Good. One obstacle solved without effort. The second one won't be. They hear the Coruscant Guard before they see them, boots on durasteel, 2 men moving fast, the sharp cadence of a patrol that has noticed something wrong. The emergency lighting means no night vision advantage for either side. Anakin puts a hand up. The extraction team stops. The 2 guards come around the corner at a jog and find 6 men in civilian clothes standing in their corridor. For half a second, everyone is still. Then both guards go for their weapons, and Anakin is already moving. He crosses the distance in 2 steps and takes the first guard's blaster by the barrel. The barrel warps in his grip, the mechanism seizing. The weapon becoming 600 credits of useless metal in under a second. The guard stares at his own hand. Anakin's elbow catches him across the jaw, controlled, precise, enough force to drop him without damage that Kix will need to address. Behind him, Rex has the second guard in a C-key C-lock, arm across the throat from behind, the guard's hands scrabbling at Rex's forearm. Finding nothing to grip, the pressure building until the body's arithmetic solves itself and the man goes slack. Rex lowers him to the floor and zip-binds his wrists without a wasted motion. 11 seconds. 2 down, Rex murmured. Non-lethal. Check them, Anakin told Kix, who was already crouching, 2 fingers to the first guard's pulse. Fine, Kix said. Both fine. They'll have headaches. 3 minutes left. The cell block is a long, straight corridor, cells on both sides. The architecture of the panopticon making itself felt even here. The sense of being visible from above, from the watchtower that Fives is currently in the process of blinding 2 floors up. Without the ray shields, the cells are just rooms. Doors still locked by manual mechanism, but no longer sealed by the energy barrier that makes them escape-proof. The third cell on the left. Anakin feels her before he sees her, her presence in the Force like a frequency he has been tuned to for long enough that he wouldn't know how to stop receiving it. Steady, frightened beneath the steadiness, in the way that someone is frightened when they have decided not to be frightened and are mostly succeeding. Waiting, Rex reaches the door panel. The external button is manual, independent of the power grid by design, the 2-point security system Anakin was briefed on. He presses it. The door slides open. Ahsoka Tano stands in the center of the cell. She is in the gray processing clothes the facility issued her, her montrals bare without the headgear she normally wears in the field, and she looks at the men in the doorway with the expression of someone who was expecting something and is still not quite ready for it. She looks at Anakin. He looks at her. 2 years of training are in this moment. Every argument, every dangerous assignment. Every time she pushed back against his methods and turned out to be right. Every time she followed him into something that should have been unsurvivable and came out the other side. The foundation of the dark side of his power is grief. He knows, has always known at some level, the fear of losing people is the engine that drives everything most dangerous in him. She is alive. She is standing. She is here. He does not say any of that. Snips, he said. Her chin lifts. Took you long enough. Rex makes a sound that is not quite a laugh, controlled immediately. We're on a clock, Anakin said. Move. She moves. The return through the corridor is faster. Ahsoka tucked between Rex and Kix. The extraction team moving in the compressed efficient formation of people with 2 minutes on a countdown they cannot extend. She keeps up without being told to. Of course she does. This is Ahsoka, who outran a gunship through industrial pipelines, who navigated the Citadel blindfolded by instinct. The first blast door is still open. The second is not. The backup generator has kicked 2 minutes early. Somewhere in the facility, a technician has noticed the power interruption and responded faster than the timeline accounted for. The blast door ahead is sealed, locked, the panel beside it showing active power. Anakin doesn't break stride. He raises his hand and the blast door groans. Durasteel rated to withstand artillery doing something Durasteel is not designed to do. The bolts pulling from their housings one by one. The whole mechanism bending inward like a door opened by a very deliberate and very powerful force. Which is exactly what it is. He holds it. The team moves through. He steps through last and lets it go. It crashes back into the frame behind them. That's going to be loud, Rex observed. We're already leaving, Anakin said. The alarm starts 40 seconds later, the facility's full emergency protocol spinning up, flashing lights, the distant bark of commands from Fox's men somewhere in the levels above them. They are already through the service door, already in the exterior corridor, already moving through the city's ambient noise, 6 people who look like nobody in particular, moving at a pace that is not quite a run. 3 blocks away, Jesse's comm crackles. South corridor secure, your exit is clean. 4 blocks away, Fives, watchtowers blind, good for another 20 minutes. 5 blocks away, the civilian cargo hauler is waiting with its engines already turning. Anakin looks at Ahsoka once, beside him, jaw set. Eyes forward, free. She doesn't look back. She doesn't need to. The cargo hauler smells of machine oil and cheap insulation foam and 32 men who have been in armor for 4 hours. Nobody cares. Ahsoka sits on an equipment crate in the hauler's hold, back against the bulkhead, and watches the 501st settle around her in the particular organized disorder of soldiers coming down from operational focus. Weapons being checked and re-racked, helmets coming off, the low murmur of men who are not yet ready to be quiet, but are too professional to be loud. She knows most of these faces, has fought beside them, has given orders that some of them followed into places she still sees in the parts of sleep that aren't really sleep. They look at her and look away again, the way soldiers do when they want to acknowledge something without making it a moment. Fives doesn't bother with that. He drops onto the crate beside her, forearms on his knees, and looks at her directly. You good? I'm fine, she said. You're in processing clothes in a cargo hauler at 023, having just been broken out of a Republic detention facility by your former master and 32 men who are now technically fugitives. I'm aware of the situation, Fives. Just checking you had the full picture. He leans back against the bulkhead beside her. For what it's worth, the vote was unanimous. Nobody argued. She absorbs this. The knowledge of it, that they came without being ordered, without certainty, without any guarantee that this ends somewhere good, settles in her chest with a weight she doesn't have words for and doesn't try to find them. That was stupid, she said. Probably, Fives agreed. Felt right, though. Anakin is at the front of the hauler with Rex, both of them watching the city scroll past through the viewport, and the silence between them is the specific kind that exists between 2 people who have just done something irreversible and are each waiting for the other to name it first. Rex names it. Fox will have the surveillance logs from before the blackout, he said. He'll have our entry point. He's good enough to reconstruct the timeline. I know. He'll also have at least one guard who got a look at the extraction team. Civilian clothes or not, he'll know these are trained men. He'll know the formation and the CQC style. I know, Rex. He'll figure out it's us, Rex said. Not a question. Not a concern, exactly. A fact being placed on the table so it can be examined. He'll figure out it's us by morning, Anakin confirmed. Which means we have until morning to move into the next phase. Rex considers this. What is the next phase? Anakin watches the lower district lights blur past below the hauler's flight line. The city at this hour is still moving, still burning, unconcerned. Somewhere in the government district the detention facility's alarm is still running. Somewhere across Coruscant, Wilhuff Tarkin is about to receive a notification that will ruin his evening in ways that Anakin finds he cannot be troubled about. She didn't do it, Anakin said. Which means someone else did. Which means there's evidence, and a person who created it, and a trail between them. He turns from the viewport. The next phase is finding all three. The safe house is on level 1313. Not the infamous criminal level, one above it, technically, in a borderline district that the city's administrative systems have been meaning to reclassify for 30 years and never get around to. The building is a converted freight depot. 6 stories of durasteel and poured ferrocrete with the kind of anonymous exterior that exists specifically to give nothing away to anyone looking for something. Fives' contact has stocked it with bedrolls, field rations, a functional communications array, and the particular miracle of a water recycler that actually works. The 501st files in through the ground floor freight entrance, 2 and 3 at a time over 30 minutes, and the building absorbs them. By 0340, everyone is inside. Ahsoka finds a corner on the second floor with a narrow window overlooking the street below. She can see 2 levels of traffic from here. Speeders on the elevated lane, a cargo platform grinding along the lower one. The ordinary midnight commerce of a city that generates 50,000 tons of freight movement in an average hour. She sits on the floor with her back to the wall and her knees drawn up and watches it. She hears Anakin before she sees him. His presence in the Force has always had weight to it, a kind of gravitational pull that she noticed when she was 14 and has never quite gotten used to. He sits down beside her on the floor with the particular lack of ceremony of someone who is too tired to perform anything. For a while, neither of them says anything. Then Anakin says, "Tell me everything. From the beginning." Let determined, the Force choke. All of it. So she does. She tells it plainly, the way she has learned to report. Sequence and fact, no editorializing. The events in order. Letta's message. The meeting. The Force choke she did not perform, the guards who arrived at exactly the wrong moment, the sensation of being caught inside a picture that had been arranged before she walked into it. The cell. The escape, which she describes with the flat accuracy of someone who has been through enough that one more desperate corridor run is just data. Finding the nanodroids. The body count that climbed and kept being attributed to her no matter how many times she didn't do it. Anakin listens without interrupting. When she finishes, he is quiet for a moment. She watches his face in the dim light from the window, the way he works through it, the slight tension along his jaw that means he is angry at something and has filed the anger somewhere useful. "The Force choke," he said. "You're certain it wasn't Ventress? Ventress has a style. This wasn't it. You're certain." Sky Guy. She uses the name deliberately, the one she gave him when she was young and insufferable and completely confident in her own read of things. I grew up in this order. I know what different Force users feel like when they're working. Whoever choked let determined it wasn't Ventress. He absorbs this, files it. Which means Ventress is a misdirect, he said. Or a tool. Someone used her reputation to point investigators in the wrong direction. Someone who knew her reputation. Someone who knew the Order well enough to know that throwing Ventress's name into the investigation would eat up time and resources. She pauses. The conclusion is there, has been there for days, sitting at the edge of her thinking like something she doesn't want to pick up. Someone inside. The word drops into the quiet of the room and stays there. Anakin's jaw tightens. Someone inside, he said. Below them, the cargo platform grinds past on its track. 2 floors down, the 501st is settling into the uneasy rest of men who know they have to be functional again in a few hours. Kix is audible somewhere, his voice, not his words, the specific cadence of a medic doing rounds, checking on people who insist they're fine. "You should have stayed away," Ahsoka said. She does not mean it as a rebuke. She means it as the other thing it is, an acknowledgement of what this costs him. "You and the men. This is treason. The Council expelled you without evidence." They had evidence. It was fabricated, but they had it. That's not the same thing as evidence. "Anakin, they handed you to Tarkin." His voice is level, completely level, which is the register she has learned to pay attention to. I have been in enough rooms with Wilhuff Tarkin to know exactly how that trial ends. The verdict was written before the charges were filed. He looks at her directly. "I was not leaving you there." She holds his gaze. The thing she doesn't say, I know. I knew in the cell, at some point between the dark and the alarm, that if anyone came it would be you. That certainty had been the only thing that wasn't fear. "The cloak," Anakin said, and holds it out. Gray, plain, nondescript. The kind of thing that disappears in any crowd on any level of this city. You can't walk around in processing clothes. She takes it, wraps it around her shoulders. "What's the plan?" she asked. "We find who actually did this. And then?" He looks back out the window at the city's endless burning light. "Then we make sure everyone knows it," he said. Loudly, in front of witnesses. She almost smiles. "That sounds like your plan," she said. It's a good plan. Below them, Coruscant hums and turns. Indifferent, enormous, full of evidence that someone has hidden and a trail that begins, if she is right. Somewhere inside the Order she has just been expelled from. She pulls the cloak tighter and begins to think. Dawn comes to level 1313 as a color change rather than a light. The sky above the canyon of buildings shifting from black to a bruised purple-gray. The city's own luminescence bleaching out whatever the sun is doing somewhere above the cloud layer. It is 0517 when Rex appears in the doorway of the second-floor room and says, quietly, "We have a problem." Anakin is already awake. He has been awake since 0400, sitting with the tactical display Rex rigged to the safehouse's comm array, running the next 12 hours in his head the way he always runs operations, forward and backward simultaneously, looking for the point where the plan develops a seam. He found it at 0430 and has been staring at it since. "Fox," he said. "It is not a question." "Fox," Rex confirmed. He crosses to the display and pulls up a frequency intercept. One of Jesse's men has been monitoring Coruscant Guard comm channels since extraction. A precaution that has just paid for itself. The text readout is clipped, military shorthand, but the meaning is clean. Commander Fox has identified the breach point. Has forensic imaging of 2 extraction team members. Helmet free from a surveillance angle the blackout didn't cover. Has formally requested Senate authority to expand the search perimeter to the lower districts. He has named Anakin Skywalker as primary suspect. Rex watches him read it. "He's fast," Anakin said. "He's good," Rex said. "There's a difference." "I know there is." Anakin sets the display down. How long before he has a search grid on this district? 2 hours. Maybe 90 minutes if he gets Senate authorization quickly. He'll get it quickly. Tarkin will make sure of it. He stands. "Get everyone up. We're not staying." The problem with moving 34 people, 32 soldiers, 1 fugitive Padawan, 1 general, across Coruscant in daylight is not the moving. The 501st has extracted larger groups from worse situations on less notice. The problem is the destination. Anakin stands in the freight depot's ground floor with Rex and Ahsoka and lays it out plainly. "We can't stay on Coruscant. Fox will have this district locked inside 2 hours and the layer below it locked inside 4. Every safe contact Rex has in the city is a liability now, because Fox will pull every thread until he finds the chain. He looks at Ahsoka. "We need to get off planet. Which means we need a ship that doesn't trace back to the 501st, a departure lane that isn't being watched, and a destination that gives us room to work." Ahsoka is quiet for a moment, the cloak pulled around her shoulders, thinking, Then, Onderon. Rex looks at her. Saw Gerrera owes me something resembling a debt, she said. And Onderon is outside the direct jurisdiction of the Coruscant courts. We'd have room to move, contacts in the resistance network, and a defensible position if Fox somehow tracks us. She pauses. It's also the last place Tarkin would expect us to go voluntarily. Anakin considers it. The logic is sound. Onderon is not friendly to Republic overreach. Saw's network is real and extensive, and Ahsoka's read of the tactical situation is exactly what he trained her to produce. He also notes, without commenting on it, that she has moved from being rescued to planning the next phase in approximately 6 hours. This is Ahsoka. This has always been Ahsoka. Onderon, he said. Rex. Ship. Rex was already on the comm. The ship is a mid-range freighter with a registration that traces back to a shell company in the Outer Rim and a name, stenciled in faded Aurebesh across its port hull, that Rex's contact apparently found funny, and that nobody currently loading 34 people and a crate of military hardware into its hold has the time to appreciate. It is fueled and berthed at a private platform 3 levels above them. The contact wants it back undamaged. Rex has made no specific promises. They move in 4 groups, staggered. Through the building's freight tunnel to the platform lift. Fives runs the rear group. Jesse has the manifest, weapons, medical kit, the portable tactical display, 4 days of rations. Kix supervises the loading of medical supplies with the focused intensity of a man who has learned that the universe consistently provides more wounded people than anticipated. Ahsoka walks beside Anakin in the second group. She is watching the street levels above them through a gap in the tunnel ceiling, speeders on the elevated lanes. A Republic patrol craft making a long banking turn 2 kilometers north. Still far. Still searching in the wrong district. Skywalker, she said. Tano. When this is over, she stops. Starts differently, if this works. If we find whoever did this and prove it, the Council will want you back. Probably, and the men. The 501st will face charges. Probably, I need you to know that I didn't. She stops again. The words are giving her trouble in the way that important words sometimes do. I didn't ask for this. I wouldn't have asked for this. Anakin walks 3 steps before answering. I know, he said. That's not why I did it. She lets it sit. Then why? Because you were right, he said simply. About the Council. About the trial. About what was going to happen to you in that room with Tarkin. He glances at her sidelong. And because the 501st made their own decision. I didn't order them. Rex had that conversation before I walked into the hangar. She absorbs this. Ahead of them the platform lift comes into view, the freighter visible through the upper gap, unglamorous and functional and ready. Then Anakin's comm activates. Not Rex's frequency. Not the intercept channel. His personal channel, the one with a Senate encryption header that almost nobody has, and the 2 people who do have it are Padam and the Chancellor. He stops walking. Ahsoka reads his face. Who? He shows her the header. She says nothing. He answers it. Palpatine's voice fills the comm's tiny speaker, warm and measured and carrying the particular quality it always carries, the sense of a man who has considered every word before speaking it, and found the exact arrangement most likely to land where he wants it to land. My dear boy, Palpatine said, I have been trying to reach you since early this morning. I understand there has been a rather serious incident at the detention facility. There has, Anakin said. I want you to know, whatever has happened, whatever decisions were made in the heat of the moment, it is not too late to correct course. Return Ahsoka to the facility. I will personally speak with the tribunal. I can guarantee that her case receives a fair and thorough review. You have my word on this. The tunnel is quiet around them. The second group has stopped, nobody pretending not to listen. Anakin looks at Ahsoka. She looks back at him. He thinks about the word carefully. He thinks about 12 seats in a circle and a vote that was already finished before he walked into the room. He thinks about Tarkin, who does not conduct fair reviews. He thinks about Palpatine's word, and what it is worth, and what it has always cost. He thinks about the turbolift and the trap, and what the trap requires, and what he is choosing instead. No, Anakin said. A pause. Brief. Almost imperceptible. Anakin, the consequences of this path? I know the consequences. You are throwing away your career. Your standing in the Order. The trust of the Council. The Council expelled her without evidence. Tarkin filed charges against her without a fair investigation. I'm not returning her to that. His voice is the same level it has been all morning. The cold that isn't anger. That is something past anger. Something resolved. If you want to help her, open a genuine independent inquiry. Not a military tribunal. Not Tarkin. He pauses. If you can't do that, then we don't have anything else to discuss. The comm is quiet for 3 seconds. I see, Palpatine said. The warmth has not left his voice. It has simply become a surface with nothing underneath it. Then I hope you know what you're doing, my boy. I do, Anakin said. He closes the channel. The tunnel is very quiet. Fives from the back of the group says nothing. Jesse says nothing. Kix says nothing. Rex, who has appeared at the top of the group without Anakin noticing him move, looks at him with an expression that is not quite approval and not quite relief, and is mostly just Rex knowing something has been decided and adjusting to the new reality with the speed that has always made him worth having beside you. Ship's ready, Rex said. Then let's go, Anakin said. They move into the lift. The platform rises. Above them the freighter sits in its berth, ugly and unregistered, pointing at the sky. Coruscant falls away below them in layers, government district, commercial rings, the detention complex somewhere in the eastern grid, the temple spire visible for 30 seconds, and then lost in cloud. Ahsoka watches it go from the cockpit viewport, her face giving nothing away. The ship clears atmosphere. Hyperspace takes them. Hyperspace is blue-white nothing, and in the nothing there is time to think. The freighter runs quiet at cruising depth, its hyperdrive producing a low-frequency vibration that the hull transmits into the floor and up through the bones of anyone sitting still long enough to notice it. Most of the 5 First are not sitting still. The freight hold has been reorganized into something approaching a mobile base, tactical display running, weapons racked along the port wall, Kix's medical station occupying the aft corner with the territorial certainty of a medic who has learned that surrendering space means surrendering options. Anakin sits alone in the forward observation bay. It is a small space, barely a compartment, 2 bolted seats and a transparent steel panel that looks directly into hyperspace. Nobody comes forward while hyperspace is running. The light does something uncomfortable to extended looking. Anakin has been sitting here for 40 minutes, not looking at the light, thinking about Palpatine's voice in the tunnel and what he heard underneath the warmth when the warmth became a surface. His personal comm activates. He reads the identifier and stills. Obi-Wan's code. He answers it. I heard, Obi-Wan said. I assumed you would. The Council sent Plo. Not me. A pause that contains something. I asked to speak with you first. They agreed to that? They thought it would be counterproductive. Another pause. I called anyway. Anakin leans back against the seat. The hyperspace light falls across the compartment in moving patterns that don't resolve into anything. She didn't do it, Obi-Wan. I know. The 2 words arrive without hesitation, without qualification, and they land differently than anything Anakin expected to hear from anyone in the Order today. He straightens. Obi-Wan continues before he can speak. I have thought so since the beginning. The evidence assembled too cleanly, too precisely targeted. Someone who actually commits a bombing and then kills a contact does not leave trails that point exactly where investigators are already looking. The particular quietness of a man setting down something he has been carrying alone for too many days. I raised this with the Council. I was told the evidence had been reviewed and found sound. And you accepted that. The pause on the other end of the comm is long enough to constitute an answer and an admission simultaneously. I did, Obi-Wan said. And I am telling you this not to make myself right. You acted on your own judgment when the Council told you to accept theirs. I accepted theirs when I had reservations. He pauses. I'm not going to pretend that the distance between us reflects entirely to your discredit. Anakin is quiet for a moment. But, you're still coming, he said. Not an accusation. The acknowledgement of the thing they both know, spoken aloud so that neither of them has to perform surprise about it later. I'm still coming. No apology in it. No defensiveness. The flat fact of a man who has decided something and is being honest about what it costs. The Council has issued the order. Plo is already in transit. I have my own obligations, and I will meet them, and that is not going to change. A breath, but I wanted you to know what you're doing for her. I understand it, even while I come after you for it. Obi-Wan. Yes, the evidence we have, it's real and it's going to be airtight before we're done. We'll have it consolidated and transmissible inside 36 hours. He thinks about the frame, about the name at the end of the logic chain, about the conversation he is going to have in a cantina on Nal Hutta. When I send it, I need you to stop. Look at it. Actually look at it, not through the Council's version of it. A long pause. Send it to me the moment it's ready, Obi-Wan said. Not to the Council first. To me. Something shifts in his voice, not softening exactly, but the specific quality of a man stepping across a line he has been standing behind for too long. I should have looked harder at the beginning. I won't make that mistake twice. The calm is quiet for a moment. Then Obi-Wan says, "Be careful. Anakin. You too." Anakin said. He closes the channel and sits alone in the hyperspace light, turning the conversation over. Obi-Wan will still come. That is real. The tribunal is still in pursuit. The charges against the 501st are real. What Anakin has just done is real in a way that does not undo itself, because a conversation went well. But Obi-Wan said I know without hesitation. He files this. He will need it. Ahsoka appears in the compartment doorway. Rex has a situation report, she said. In a minute. He reads her face with the same accuracy she always reads his. Palpatine called in the tunnel. Obi-Wan just called now. Something moves across her expression. How is he? He knows you didn't do it. Always suspected. Didn't push hard enough when it mattered. Anakin stands. He's still coming after us. She is quiet for a moment. But he called. He called first, Anakin said. That's Obi-Wan's version of standing in a hangar at 0200 in full kit. She absorbs this. Then nods once, the short nod of someone incorporating a data point into a model that was already running. Good, she said. Meaning, it's not nothing. It will matter. They go to hear Rex's situation report. Rex's situation report is delivered in the freight hold with the whole unit present. Because Rex does not separate information from the people who need it to function. Two things, Rex said. He brings up the tactical display, Onderon's system map, saw Guerrera's last known position, the ship's projected arrival time. First, we land in 9 hours at a resistance staging point 30 kilometers outside Aziz. Ahsoka's contact is being notified through a channel Saw hasn't burned yet. We'll have a ground position within 2 hours of landing. He advances the display to the second item. Second, Jesse's monitoring of Republic frequencies picked up a Senate communique 40 minutes ago. Official order from the Jedi Council to locate and detain General Skywalker's group, pending investigation. The order specifically names Commander Tano as a fugitive, General Skywalker as in violation of military authority, and lists the 501st soldiers present as material participants in a prison break. Nobody moves. They've assigned pursuit to Master Plo Koon, Rex continued. 1 Jedi Shadow assigned as support. 1 Venator class, the Tribunal, already repositioning from Coruscant orbit. Fives looks at Ahsoka. Master Plo? She holds his gaze. I know. Plo Koon, who found her on Shili when she was 3 years old, who brought her to the temple, who has, in every way that the Order permits, been the closest thing to family that the Jedi allow themselves to have. The Council has sent him deliberately, not as cruelty, Anakin understands, but as strategy. If anyone can talk Ahsoka into returning voluntarily, into trusting the process, it is Plo. Ahsoka understands this too. It is visible in the way she keeps her face completely composed. He's following orders he believes are right, she said. He's not wrong to follow them, he just doesn't have all the information yet. Then we make sure he gets it, Anakin said. Before he finds us. How? We have the chain of reasoning. We need the physical evidence to close it. He looks at Ahsoka, which is why we find Ventress first. Onderon smells like rain and red clay, and something biological underneath both. The jungle pressing against the edges of the resistance staging point the way jungle always does on Onderon. Patient and enormous, and entirely indifferent to whatever the humans have built inside it. The staging point is a cluster of prefab structures and salvaged separatist equipment, tucked into a river valley 30 kilometers southwest of Iziz, invisible from the air under 3 layers of canopy. Saw Gerrera provided it without asking many questions, which is either trust in Ahsoka or trust in the principle that anyone the Republic is actively hunting is worth sheltering until proven otherwise. Possibly both. The 501st has been here for 6 hours. 6 hours is enough time to set a perimeter, confirm the comm array, establish a watch rotation. And for Fives to find the one crate of Onderonian grain alcohol that Saw's people left behind and make a considered decision not to mention it to Rex until after the current crisis resolves. It is also enough time for Ahsoka and Anakin to reconstruct, on the surface of a portable tactical board, everything they know about the frame. It is not enough. The nanodroids, Ahsoka said. She has a piece of duraplast and a marking stylus, and she has been building the logic chain for 2 hours with the focused intensity of someone who has had nothing to do in a prison cell for days except think. They were sophisticated, military grade, not black market, the kind of thing you'd need specialized knowledge to synthesize. Order level knowledge, Anakin said, or access to someone with it. She marks a node on the duraplast. The force choke on Letta. Whoever did it is force sensitive, strong enough to do it through a cell wall, which takes real precision. The stolen lightsabers pointing to Ventress. Someone who had access to Ventress. Or to her equipment. She sets the stylus down. That's a short list. Anakin looks at the logic chain. 3 nodes, 3 requirements, and the overlap between them keeps producing one name that neither of them has said aloud yet. Because saying it aloud does something to the shape of the problem, makes it heavier, makes it real in a different way. We need Ventress, he said. Rex has been working the contact network since we landed. As if the name summons him, Rex appears in the doorway of the prefab. He has the look of someone who has successfully navigated a complicated communication chain and is not entirely pleased with what it produced. We have a location, Rex said. Nal Hutta. Ventress has been operating out of the lower district of Bilbusa for the last 3 weeks, taking bounty work, staying off the main grids. My contact puts her in a cantina called the Merchant's Rest most evenings. He pauses. My contact also wants it noted that this information was not cheap. Noted, Anakin said. How fast can we get there? 4 hours out, 4 hours back. We'd be inside 12 if Ventress cooperates. Rex's expression suggests his assessment of the probability of Ventress cooperating without incident. I'd recommend a small team. She sees 32 clone troopers. She'll be in hyperspace before we reach the door. Small team, Anakin agreed. You, me, Ahsoka. Ahsoka looks up. She knows your face, Anakin said. And she has reason to want the frame untangled as much as we do. Her lightsabers were used as evidence against you. If I'm right about what happened, she didn't authorize that. And if she's not cooperative? Then we have a conversation, he said. And I'm persuasive. The Merchant's Rest on Nal Hutta is the kind of establishment that has made a careful study of being beneath notice. Low ceiling, poor lighting, the ambient noise of a dozen species conducting business that does not benefit from witnesses. It smells of cheap Hutta's spirits and something fried, and the particular staleness of a space that has never once opened a window. Ventress is in the back corner. She spots them before they reach the midpoint of the room, her eyes moving to the door the moment it opened. the trained alertness of a woman who has survived long enough to have learned that most things that enter rooms are worth assessing immediately. She looks at Anakin, at Rex, at Ahsoka. Her expression does not change. She does not run. This, Anakin registers, is information. They reach her table and he sits down across from her without being invited, because invitation is not the currency of this particular conversation. Rex remains standing, angled to the room. Ahsoka takes the seat beside Anakin. Ventress looks at Ahsoka with the specific quality of attention that passes between two people who have tried to kill each other and arrived somewhere more complicated. "You broke out," Ventress said. "With help," Ahsoka said. "I heard." Her pale eyes moved to Anakin, the Jedi general who broke his own Padawan out of Republic detention. "You're either very loyal or very stupid." "Both, usually," Anakin said. "Your lightsabers." The shift is immediate, not flinching. Ventress does not flinch, but a sharpening, a focusing of attention. "My lightsabers," she said. "They were recovered at the bombing site. Used as evidence in Ahsoka's case." He keeps his voice flat, factual. "You didn't leave them there. Obviously not. Then someone took them from you. Or from somewhere you'd stored them." He leans forward slightly. "We need to know when and how, and if you saw anyone near your equipment in the period before the temple bombing." Ventress is quiet for a moment. The cantina moves around them. A Rodian at the bar, 2 Gamorreans in a booth, the bartender running a cloth across the same section of counter for the 4th time. "Someone came to me," Ventress said finally. 3 weeks before the bombing, wanted to hire me for a job, wanted me to acquire nanodroid technology from a specific synthesizer in the Works District. She picks up her glass, doesn't drink from it. "I recognized what it was for. I sent them away." "But they were in your space," Ahsoka said. "Wherever you met them. A safe house in the Coruscant underworld." Yes, the word costs her something. Not shame, exactly, but the acknowledgement of having been outmaneuvered by someone she underestimated. "My backup sabers were in a case in that location. I moved them 2 days later. By then, apparently they had already been handled, swapped, copied. The balance altered just enough that I noticed something was wrong 6 weeks ago and dismissed it as wear." Her jaw tightens. Not at Anakin or Ahsoka, at the memory of missing it. "The person who came to hire you," Anakin said. "Describe them." "Miri Allen, young, female, used a hood, but I have spent enough time around Jedi to recognize the posture." She looks at them both steadily. She moved like someone trained in the Order. The word lands in the space between the three of them. Miri Allen, young, Jedi posture. Ahsoka goes very still. Anakin watches her process it, sees the exact moment, the logic chain closes, the exact cost of what it means. Her face holds. She does not look away from Ventress. But something in her eyes does the thing that Anakin's chest has been doing since the council chamber. The thing where structural weight shifts, and you feel the movement before you understand it. "Barriss," she said, barely above a breath. Ventress looks at her. "Friend of yours?" "She was," Ahsoka said. The cantina continues its indifferent commerce around them. Anakin runs the chain backward from Ventress's description: nanodroid acquisition, force choke through a cell wall with surgical precision, knowledge of Order security protocols precise enough to frame an investigation from inside, access to a target no one would think to look at, because no one looks for the bomber among the healers. Barriss Offee Miri Allen, trained in the ways of a Jedi healer, Ahsoka's closest friend inside the Order, invisible to suspicion because her entire identity inside the temple is built around restoration rather than destruction. The whole structure assembles in seconds. It is airtight. "We need one more thing," Anakin said to Ventress. "Will you testify to what you've told us?" Her expression is the specific flatness of someone being asked something they find mildly offensive. "I'm a former Sith assassin and current bounty hunter," she said. "My testimony in a Republic court is worth approximately nothing." "Not in a Republic court," he said. "In the Jedi Temple. In front of the Council." He holds her gaze. "In front of witnesses who cannot dismiss it as easily as a tribunal can." A long pause. I want something in return, Ventress said. Name it. The frame on me disappears. The lightsaber evidence gets corrected in the official record. My name comes off the investigation completely. She sets the glass down with the precision of someone placing a punctuation mark. I was used. I don't stay used. Done, Anakin said. She studies him for 3 seconds, reading whatever is in his face, finding what she needs there. Then nods once, the sharp economy of a woman who doesn't waste motion on things already decided. They are back outside before Ahsoka speaks. The Nal Hutta evening is settling into its humid dark around them, the air carrying the planet's particular organic heaviness. Nothing about it that resembles the temple corridors she has walked since she was old enough to walk them. She stands on the platform outside the cantina's entrance and looks at nothing in particular. She believed it, Ahsoka said quietly. Whatever she told herself to justify it, Barriss believed it. Her voice is not forgiving. It is not condemning either. It is the voice of someone trying to hold a complicated, true thing without simplifying it into something easier to carry. She thought the Order had lost its way, that the war made us into something we were never supposed to be. She might not be wrong about that, Anakin said. She's wrong about the method. Yes, he said. She is. She is quiet for a moment. Below the platform, the lower streets of Bilbusa move through their evening routine. Unhurried, unconcerned, the people who died in the bombing, Ahsoka said. They weren't the Council. They weren't the ones who decided to make Jedi into soldiers. They were initiates, and staff, and knights who showed up that morning and did their jobs. She pauses. She knows that. She has always known that. I think that's the part she couldn't put down, no matter how clean the ideology sounded. Anakin says nothing. He lets it be what it is. She picks up the gray cloak from where she had folded it over her arm and wraps it back around her shoulders. The gesture is not dramatic. It is simply a person who is cold doing the practical thing. Let's go get her, she said. Back at the staging point, Anakin spreads the full chain across the tactical board for the first time. Every node, every connection, Ventress's testimony mapped against the physical evidence. The force choke, the nanodroid synthesis, the security protocol knowledge, the lightsaber substitution. He stands back and looks at it. It is airtight. Not in the way that convenient conclusions are airtight, sealed off from examination, held together by the pressure of wanting to be true. Airtight in the way that things built from verified components are airtight, where every joint bears weight and the structure stands because the structure is sound. Rex stands beside him. It'll hold, Rex said. It'll hold. Anakin confirmed. He transmits the chain to a secured frequency, Obi-Wan's code as promised. No message, just the data. He trusts Obi-Wan to know what to do with it. We're going back to Coruscant, Rex said. We're going back to the temple, Anakin said. There's a difference. Rex considers it. The distinction is real, not just semantic, but tactical, philosophical. The difference between returning to Republic jurisdiction and returning to finish something on their own terms. He nods once. I'll get the men ready, Rex said. Tell them to put their colors back on. Rex stops. Looks at him. If we're walking into that temple, Anakin said, we walk in as ourselves. Not as 34 people in civilian clothes trying not to be seen. He holds Rex's gaze. The 501st made their choice openly. They should arrive the same way. Rex is quiet for a moment. Something in his face settles. Not surprise, but recognition. The expression of a man hearing something said aloud that he had already been thinking and hadn't yet found the words for. Understood, General, he said. He goes. Outside the prefab, the Onderonian jungle presses its patient weight against the staging point's perimeter, indifferent to the 34 people inside it who are about to go back into the place they ran from and make an argument in front of everyone, that the truth is the truth regardless of who is inconvenienced by it. Ahsoka sits on a supply crate near the entrance, looking at the tree line. Anakin sits beside her. Ready? He said. She thinks about it. Not performing the consideration, actually running through it, looking for the honest answer rather than the useful one. No, she said. But I'm going anyway. That's usually how it works, he said. She almost smiles. It is the almost that matters. They sit for a moment in the jungle's green dark, and then they stand, and then they go. The Jedi Temple at mid-morning. The 5 spires rise above Coruscant's skyline in the pale autumn light, ancient and certain. The kind of structure that has existed long enough to stop being architecture and become geography. 10,000 years of accumulated presence. 10,000 years of Jedi moving through its corridors and training in its courtyards, and sitting in its libraries believing they understood the Force well enough to speak for it. The morning light catches the upper stonework and turns it gold. 32 clone troopers in full 501st blue walk up the main approach in formation. Nobody told them to put the colors back on. They did it themselves, somewhere between Onderon and Coruscant, quietly, without announcement, the blue paint reappearing on pauldrons that had been covered for the approach, the orange helmet markings restored, the unit identifier on every chest plate visible and unambiguous. When Anakin saw it, he said nothing. There was nothing to say. The 501st had decided that if they were walking into the temple, they were walking in as themselves, and the decision was already made. Ahsoka walks at Anakin's left, Ventress, in a civilian hood that fools no one who looks at her posture for more than 2 seconds, walks at his right. Rex is 1 step behind. The temple gates are open. They are always open. The Jedi Order has not closed its gates to supplicants in living memory, because closing the gates would be an admission that the temple can be threatened, and the Order does not make that admission. This is, Anakin notes, occasionally a tactical problem. Today it is a gift. The first reaction comes from 2 temple guards at the inner gate. Young knights, both of them, who see the approaching formation and go very still in the way of people whose training has not yet equipped them for the specific situation of a fugitive general and a wanted Padawan and 32 soldiers, walking openly into the most sacred building in the Republic. One of them reaches for his comlink. "Don't," Anakin said. "Not unkindly. We're here to end this. Not to fight." The knight looks at him, looks at the formation behind him, makes the assessment that his training has in fact equipped him to make, that stopping this group is beyond his current capacity, and that the most useful thing he can do is step aside and notify someone with more authority. He steps aside. Anakin walks through the inner gate of the Jedi Temple as a fugitive, in full view of every initiate, every knight, every master crossing the main atrium, and does not slow his stride. The atrium is the temple's central artery, wide, high-ceilinged, morning light, falling through clerestory windows in long columns that illuminate the stone floor in irregular patterns. A dozen Jedi stop what they are doing. An initiate group of younglings, led by a patient Togrutan instructor, freezes in a cluster near the eastern wall. The instructor pulls them back with a gesture, instinct overriding protocol, her eyes on the formation moving through the space. 2 masters near the archive entrance watch the column cross the atrium with expressions that cycle through recognition, disbelief, and something that is not quite resolution. One steps forward. "Skywalker, this is a resolution," Anakin said, not stopping. "Stand clear, Master. The sheer momentum of 34 people moving with purpose is its own argument." The Master steps back. 5s. From the rear of the formation, quiet enough that only Jesse beside him hears, "I cannot believe this is working." Jesse. Quieter. "Don't jinx it." Master Shaak Ti is waiting at the corridor junction that leads to the residential quarters. This is not coincidence. Someone from the gate has notified the Council, and Shaak Ti has been dispatched as the response most likely to produce a non-violent outcome. She stands in the center of the corridor, alone, with the particular stillness that very powerful Jedi have when they are not yet committed to action but are fully prepared for it. She looks at Anakin. "General Skywalker," she said, "you are under a council order of detention. Whatever you believe you are here to accomplish, we know who bombed the temple." Anakin said, "We have a witness, physical evidence, and a chain of reasoning with no gaps. We're here to complete the investigation that the council should have completed before they expelled her." He meets Shaak Ti's eyes directly. "You can try to stop us, Master, and we will have a problem neither of us wants. Or, you can walk with us and see what we find." Shaak Ti looks at him for a long moment. She looks at Ahsoka. Something moves across her face, not quite grief, but adjacent to it. The expression of someone who voted a certain way in a council chamber, and has spent the subsequent days sitting with the weight of that vote, turning it over, finding it lighter than it should be, and heavier than she expected. She steps to the side of the corridor. "I'll walk with you," she said. Barriss Offee's quarters are on the 3rd residential level, eastern wing, a room she has occupied for 6 years. The corridor outside it is empty. The temple's ordinary rhythm has not yet registered what is moving through it. Word travels, but the formation has moved fast, and the residential level is quiet at this hour. Its occupants in training halls or libraries, or the contemplative silence of morning meditation. The door is closed. Anakin stops the formation 10 meters back. He, Ahsoka, Rex, and Ventress continue forward. Shakti walks beside them. Ahsoka reaches the door first. She stands in front of it for 3 seconds. 3 seconds of the particular stillness that is not hesitation, but acknowledgement. This is a door she has knocked on 100 times, has walked through without knocking, because it was Barriss's room, and Barriss always said the knocking was unnecessary between friends. The door at the end of everything that used to be ordinary. She presses the panel. The door opens. Barriss Offee is sitting at her desk, back to the door, a datapad in her hands. She does not turn immediately. She finishes the line she is reading, with the composed deliberateness of someone who has learned to control the visible signs of her internal state. Then she turns. She sees Ahsoka. Her face does what faces do when they encounter the specific thing they have been preparing for, and find that preparation was insufficient. Something moves behind her eyes. Not guilt, not immediately, but recognition. The understanding that the shape of events has arrived at its inevitable point. She looks at Ventress. Her eyes move to Anakin. "I knew you'd find it eventually," Barriss said. Her voice is steady. "I assumed it would take longer." "The lightsabers," Ahsoka said. "The nanodroids." Letta, each word precise, placed carefully, a structure being assembled rather than an accusation being thrown. "It was you." Barriss sets the datapad down. She stands from the desk slowly, with the care of someone managing something internal that requires all available resources. "The Order sent healers to be soldiers," she said. "Sent peacekeepers to maintain a war. Sent children," her eyes move briefly to Ahsoka, "into a machine that used them and called it service. And the people who died in the bombing?" Ahsoka's voice does not rise. "What did you call that?" "Necessary." And then, quieter, the word losing its certainty even as she says it, "I told myself necessary." "You told yourself," Ahsoka said. Past tense. Something tightens in Barriss's face. The Order is broken. The war has made us into something the Founders would not recognize. Every Jedi who goes to that front line is participating in a machine that— "I know what the machine does," Ahsoka said. "I've been inside its results for 9 days." Barriss stops. "The Council expelled me," Ahsoka said. Her voice is completely even. She has had 9 days to build this and she is not going to rush it. "Without evidence. They handed me to a tribunal they knew was political because the alternative was defending me at institutional cost. And institutions don't do that." "You're right about that part. Everything you're saying about what the Order has become, I could have said it from a holding cell. I had the time and the reason." She steps into the room. "You're not wrong about what's broken. You were wrong about what to do about it. Someone had to act, yes." Ahsoka's voice sharpens for the first time. Not raised, but focused. "So you chose to bomb a place where people come to study and heal and train. Not the council chamber, not the war rooms where the decisions get made. You chose the archive. The training corridors. The places where initiates walk in the morning on their way to meditation." She holds Barriss's gaze without blinking. "You know who you killed. You've known since you did it. I can see it in your face every time you almost say it and don't. The Order would have continued. So would the people in that building." Ahsoka steps closer. The initiates who hadn't chosen anything yet. The knights who came in that morning to do their work. The healers who practiced the same discipline you did. A pause. The Order's failures are real, Barriss. The people you killed are also real. You don't get to place one inside the other and call it a necessary abstraction. Barriss's expression shifts. The ideology's still there, but beneath it something rawer. Something that has been waiting a long time for someone to name it. You know what they'll do with this, she said. They'll arrest me and try me and call it resolved, and the machine will keep running, and will keep sending children to a war that... And what you did stopped none of that. Ahsoka's voice is not unkind. It is something worse than unkind, it is certain. The war is still running. The Council still sits in their chamber. The only thing your bombing changed is that people died in the temple, and I spent 9 days in a cell. She takes another step. 2 meters now. You made the same choice the Council made. You decided the institution mattered more than the people inside it. You decided I was an acceptable cost. The same calculation. The same shape. She stops. You became the thing you were trying to destroy. The room is very quiet. Shock T in the doorway makes no sound. Rex's hand is near his weapon and has not moved toward it. Ventress watches with the expression of a woman who has been present for many confessions and finds this one more interesting than most. Barriss looks at Ahsoka, really looks at her, for the first time since the door opened. Without ideology between them acting as a buffer. What moves through her face is the specific motion of something held a very long time becoming too heavy to hold. The argument I'm making is real, Barriss said. Her voice has changed, quieter and more honest for the quietness. You know it's real. You said it yourself. The Order chose the institution over you. That actually happened. I know it happened, Ahsoka said. I'm the proof it happened. And I came back anyway. Not for the Order. Because the truth is what it is regardless of who it inconveniences. She stops moving. 1 meter. You still have that. Right now, in this room, that is still a choice you have. One more decision that is actually yours. For 4 seconds, Barriss Offee holds the room with everything she has been holding for months. The ideology, the grief, the fear, the specific exhaustion of a person who has done a thing they cannot undo, and has been carrying it alone ever since. Then something in her face closes. Not the conviction returning, but the fear. Not of Ahsoka, but of the courtyard. Of the 50 people. Of having her words used the way institutions use words when they need a story about a solved problem. She has argued herself to the very edge of the right choice and cannot find the footing to step across it here. In this small room, with only these witnesses. Her hand moves. 2 red lightsaber blades ignite simultaneously. Ventress's stolen sabers, pulled from the folds of her robe. Crimson light flooding the small room. Her face has changed completely. The composure gone, something rawer and more cornered in its place. She moves toward the window. Ahsoka is already moving. Barriss goes through the window. A precise force push that takes the entire panel in one clean sheet, and she is through the gap before the glass finishes falling. 3 floors up, eastern wing, the maintenance ledge running the full length of the residential block. Ahsoka clears the window frame 1 second behind her. She has no lightsabers. This is the fact she works around rather than through. Her weapons are in an evidence locker somewhere, and have been since her arrest. And what she has instead is 2 years of training built on top of a lifetime in this building, and the specific advantage of knowing exactly how Barriss Offee moves, because she has sparred with her more times than she can count in the halls below. Barriss knows this too. She spins at the ledge corner and throws a force push, not at Ahsoka, at the maintenance strut above her. A steel support bracket shears from its housing and swings down across the ledge path. Ahsoka drops flat. The bracket passing 6 centimeters above her shoulders, rolls back to her feet, without breaking her forward momentum, keeps moving. The gap between them has closed to 10 meters. Anakin lands on the ledge behind her. He reads the geometry, Ahsoka in front, the courtyard below, filling with people looking up. He understands what is happening and what it requires of him, to stay exactly where he is and let her do it. He stays. The temple courtyard at mid-morning holds 40, 50 people. Jedi and initiates and temple staff crossing between buildings, conducting the ordinary business of the Order at the hour before the midday meal. They stop in clusters, looking up, and the picture assembles for them in pieces. A figure in Jedi robes running along the residential ledge with two red sabers active, and a Togruta in a gray cloak running behind her without weapons. The Togruta without weapons is the detail that catches. She is recognizable, the white and blue facial markings, the mantrals, the specific movement pattern of someone trained in this building since childhood. A whisper moves through the courtyard. Rex appears at the courtyard entrance, the 501st formation spreading behind him into a perimeter with the automatic efficiency of men who have done containment operations enough times that the geometry is instinct. He looks up at the ledge. He does not reach for his weapon. Barriss reaches the end of the ledge and jumps. 12 meters to the courtyard floor, she uses the force to cushion the landing, hitting in a controlled roll that absorbs the impact and brings her up on her feet, both sabers raised, the crimson blades cutting parallel lines through the courtyard light. She straightens and finds herself facing 50 people who have stopped and are watching, and none of whom are moving toward her. And the perimeter of the 501st forming around her like a slow tide, and no exit she can reach in 3 seconds. Ahsoka lands beside her. Not 12 meters. She dropped from the ledge halfway along its length, caught a maintenance hook one-handed, swung her momentum into the courtyard wall, and pushed off at an angle that brought her down 4 meters to Barriss's left, landing in a low stance with her hands open. No weapons. Standing between Barriss and the crowd. Barriss turns to face her. The sabers are still up. Her breathing is audible, controlled, but audible, the discipline holding a fracture that has been widening since the room. "Move," Barriss said. "No," Ahsoka said. "Everything I said up there, I know," Ahsoka said. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life working on what it means. But not here. Not like this." Her voice carries across the courtyard, clear and flat, no performance in it for the audience surrounding them. "You told yourself the people in the bombing were necessary. I'm telling you they weren't. They didn't have more power over the Order's choices than either of us did. They were living in the same failure. And you made them pay for it." Barriss's jaw tightens. "Someone had to make the system visible. You made it visible by giving it a body count it could manage." Ahsoka steps forward. "The Order arrested me and called it resolution. If you had died in that courtyard, they would have arrested your ideology and called it resolution. The machine survives bodies, Barriss. It always has. The only thing that doesn't survive is the truth, if you don't say it while you're still standing." She takes another step. 3 meters. "There are people in this courtyard who lost someone in that bombing. You don't get to tell them it was the price of a principle. You have to stand in front of them and say what you actually did." Barriss's eyes are wet. Not crying. The state before crying. "They'll make me the only problem," she said. "The fear, finally, without the ideology around it. They'll convict me and call it resolved, and go back to the war, and nothing will have changed except I'll be gone." "Maybe," Ahsoka said. "That's a real risk, and I'm not going to lie to you about it. But I'm not gone." She stops moving. She is 2 meters away, hands still open. "I came back. Without lightsabers. Without rank. Without the Order's protection. Because the truth is the truth regardless of what the institution does with it, and the only way to make sure it doesn't get managed into something useful is to say it somewhere that can't be managed." She looks at Barriss directly, and what passes between them is not simple. 2 years of friendship and a betrayal that sits on top of it without erasing it, the way a scar sits on skin, present and real, and part of the same body whether you account for it or not. You can still do that. Right now. One more choice that is actually yours. Up on the balcony, council members who have been notified and have arrived in the last 2 minutes stand watching. Mace Windu. Ki Adimundi. At the far left, very still. Plo Koon. His eyes are on Ahsoka. Anakin lands in the courtyard behind Barriss, 12 meters back, and does not move forward. The courtyard is absolutely still. The right saber drops first. Then the left. They hit the courtyard stone and roll, red blades extinguishing on contact with the ground, and the sound of it, two lightsabers hitting stone in an open courtyard, in front of 50 witnesses, carries in a way that silence amplifies rather than absorbs. Barriss stands with her hands at her sides. "I did it," she said, not to Ahsoka. To the courtyard, to the witnesses, to the council members on the upper balcony. "I bombed the Jedi Temple. I framed Ahsoka Tano. I killed Letta Termund." Each sentence arrives separately, with the specific weight of a thing said aloud for the first time in the only place where it could mean something. "I used Asajj Ventress's identity and her lightsabers to misdirect the investigation." Ahsoka had no part in any of it. The courtyard does not react immediately. 50 people processing the same information simultaneously produces a particular quality of collective stillness, not silence exactly, but the suspension of ordinary sound. The held breath of a group that has just watched the architecture of an assumption collapse and has not yet decided what to build in the space where it stood. Then Mace Windu's voice, from the balcony, carrying down into the courtyard with the weight of a man who does not need volume to be heard, "Restrain her." 2 temple guards move from the perimeter. Barriss does not resist. She extends her wrists with the deliberateness of someone who has made their last decision and is now simply present in its aftermath. The guards take her gently, not roughly, and this small fact registers as the Order managing the gap between what it should have been and what it has actually done. Ahsoka watches them lead Barriss away. Her face holds everything it has been holding for 9 days: the arrest, the cell, the expulsion, the trial that didn't happen, the extraction, the running, the investigation, all of it. Holds it without letting any of it perform itself for the audience that is still watching. She is 16 years old and she is standing in the courtyard of the temple she grew up in, with her hands open, and no weapons, and the truth established in front of witnesses, and she does not collapse under the weight of any of it. Then she looks up at the balcony. At Plo Koon. He looks back at her. His expression, behind the breath mask, is not visible in the ordinary sense, but he bows his head, a single deliberate inclination, the specific gesture of a Jedi Master who is acknowledging something he cannot put into words, and is not going to try. She looks at Anakin. He looks at her. The courtyard begins, slowly, to breathe again. The legal architecture collapses with the particular speed of structures that were only held up by the pressure of certainty. Without Tarkin's prosecution, without the charges, without the fabricated evidence chain that Barriss's confession has just dismantled in front of witnesses, there is nothing left of the case against Ahsoka Tano. Tarkin's voice comes through the council chamber's comm system that afternoon, transmitted from the Republic Executive Building, carrying the particular quality of a man who has lost something he believed was structurally impossible to lose. "The confession is coerced," Tarkin said, "obtained under duress by fugitive elements who had every motivation to manufacture." "The confession was witnessed by 50 individuals," Mace Windu said, "including 6 Jedi Masters, 32 Republic soldiers, and a civilian. It was given voluntarily, without physical coercion, in an open courtyard." A pause. "Your objection is noted, Admiral. It is also insufficient." The comm clicks off. In the corner of the chamber, barely visible, Fives makes a small gesture to Jesse that requires no translation. The tribunal does not reconvene. The detention order is rescinded by mid-afternoon. The 501st charges: material participation in a prison break, violation of military authority, conduct unbecoming, sit in a file on a Republic legal desk that nobody with sufficient rank appears willing to sign. By evening, the file has been quietly archived. Rex learns this from a contact in the JAG office and relays it to Anakin with the expression of a man who has observed the Republic's legal system perform a specific kind of cowardice before and has stopped being surprised by it. "They're not dropping the charges," Rex said. "They're losing them. Same result." Anakin said. "Different principle." "I know." He looks at Rex. "It'll do for now." The council meets in formal session at the 19th hour. The chamber is the same. The light is not. Evening now. The city below transitioning into its night luminescence. 10,000 levels of light bleeding upward through the windows and washing the stone in amber. 12 masters in their seats. Ahsoka standing in the center where 9 days ago there was a vote. Mace Windu speaks first. The council wishes to formally acknowledge that the evidence against Ahsoka Tano was fabricated, that the expulsion was made in error, and that this body bears responsibility for the harm caused by that error. He does not rush the words or soften them. We failed you. The acknowledgement is insufficient. It is what we have. Ahsoka receives this. She does not fill the silence that follows it with reassurance. She does not tell them it is fine, that she understands, that mistakes happen in difficult circumstances, and she holds nothing against them. She stands in the center of the circle and lets the council's words be exactly what they are: true, and late, and real. Plo Koon speaks next. His voice carries the weight of a long time spent in this institution, and something more personal underneath it, something that does not have an easy name. You were one of ours, he said. You remained so, even when we failed to act accordingly. She looks at him. Something in her face softens, not forgiveness exactly, not yet. But the acknowledgement that this particular wound runs in both directions and that he knows it and is not pretending otherwise. The council offers full reinstatement, Mace Windu said. Your rank, your place in the order, the record expunged. The offer is genuine and unconditional. The chamber is quiet. Ahsoka turns to look at Anakin, who is standing at the edge of the circle. He looks back at her. He does not indicate anything with his expression. This is her choice. He has known for 3 days what it was going to be, has felt it in her presence in the Force since the courtyard. The specific quality of someone who has decided something and is at peace with the decision even though peace and grief are not mutually exclusive states, and she is currently carrying both. She turns back to the council. No, Ahsoka said. The word is simple, not angry, not performed for effect. It drops into the chamber with the weight of something that has been considered from every angle and arrived at through that consideration rather than past it. The order didn't fail me because it made a mistake, she said. Mistakes happen. I've made enough of them to know the difference between a mistake and a pattern. She looks across the circle, each face in turn, the same faces that were here for the vote, that have been here for every vote she has never been present for. The order failed me, because when the moment came, the institution mattered more than the person inside it. And I don't know how to unknow that. I don't know how to sit in this circle again and trust that the next time will be different. She reaches into the folds of the gray cloak and produces the Padawan beads, the ones she wore from the day Anakin gave them to her, removed when the council expelled her, returned with her personal effects from the detention facility's property desk. She holds them for a moment. Not dramatically, just long enough to know what she is holding. She sets them on the floor in front of her. I'm grateful for what this order gave me, she said. I'm leaving anyway. She looks at Anakin. One look, carrying everything she has already said and doesn't need to say again. Then she walks out of the chamber. Anakin moves to the center of the circle. He reaches to his belt. The lightsaber comes free, the weapon he has carried since Geonosis, the one he built himself in the tradition of every Jedi who has stood in this room before him, the blue blade that has been his for 5 years. He holds it for a moment without igniting it. He thinks about the turbolift this morning, about what Palpatine is right about, and what that rightness is designed to produce, and what it was always supposed to cost him. The plan required him to be alone, to run out of people he trusted, to arrive at the moment when the only hand in the dark was Palpatine's. He looks around the circle. He thinks about Rex in the briefing room, who set down his helmet and said she didn't do it and meant what do you need? About 32 men who painted their armor blue on a freighter because they had decided who they were and wanted it to be visible. About Obi-Wan's voice in the hyperspace light, saying I know without hesitation. About Ahsoka in the cell, chin up, saying took you long enough, because she had believed someone would come. He is not alone. He has not been alone for a single hour of these 9 days. He has been surrounded by people who made choices, loud and deliberate choices, and he has been one of them. He sets the lightsaber on the floor beside Ahsoka's beads. The sound it makes is small. The chamber's acoustics carry it anyway. Mace Windu watches him. Skywalker, "Consider what I have," Anakin said. "Thoroughly your place in this order is here." He gestures, not to the chamber but to the door Ahsoka just walked through. "It's always been here. I just didn't have the language for it until she did." Yoda's eyes are on him from across the circle, ancient, measuring, the weight of centuries in a face that has watched generations of Jedi make decisions in this room. Some of them right, and some of them wrong, and all of them consequential. What Anakin reads there is not disappointment. It is something more complicated than disappointment, something that contains within it the understanding that this moment was always possible, and that the Order's failure to prevent it is not Anakin's failure, but its own. Yoda says nothing. In the corner of the chamber, Obi-Wan stands. Anakin did not know he was there, did not feel him arrive. He looks at Obi-Wan and Obi-Wan looks back at him. And the expression on Obi-Wan's face is not the one Anakin expected. It is not disappointment or judgment. It is grief, which is something entirely different. The grief of a man who has watched something he built become what it had to become, and who understands why, and who is going to carry that understanding for a long time. Anakin holds his gaze for a moment. Then he turns from the circle. The 501st files out of the temple in the order they came in. Unit, formation, colors showing. Fives and Jesse take point. Rex at the rear, watching everything the way he always does, ensuring that every man in his charge makes it out the same way he came in. They pass through the atrium where they were stared at this morning, and are stared at now. And the difference in the staring is subtle but real. This morning, they were a provocation. Now they are something the temple has to decide how to remember. Anakin follows them out. On the main steps, he stops. Rex stops beside him. The unit continues down the broad steps toward the city, and the sound of boots on ancient stone carries in a way that seems larger than 32 people can account for. "Where to, General?" Rex asked. Anakin is quiet for a moment. He is thinking about Ahsoka. She has already gone. Not dramatically, not with a speech. She took the door at the bottom of the corridor and did not turn around. The way someone does when they have decided and have made their peace with the deciding, and do not need a witness for it. He does not know where she is going. He does not think she knows yet either, and he does not think that is the point. What he heard in the last thing she said to him before the council session, not the words, but the quality underneath them, was not grief, and was not certainty. It was direction. She is going somewhere, even if she has not yet found the name for it. He is also thinking about what the next few months look like for the men on these steps, the charges that were archived rather than dropped, the careers that have been bent out of their institutional shapes by 9 days of doing the right thing at the wrong time. Rex has 32 soldiers who are technically still wanted on paperwork nobody has signed and nobody has burned, and the Republic's memory for paperwork is long when convenient and short when not, and Anakin does not yet know which it will be. He is not naive about the cost. He is standing on it. "I don't know yet," Anakin said. Rex accepts this without comment, the way he accepts all field conditions, as information about the current state of things, requiring acknowledgement but not alarm. "The men," Anakin said, "whatever comes for them from this, they made their choice," Rex said. "Simple, complete, they'd make it again." He pauses. "I'd make it again." Anakin looks at him. Rex looks back, not performing anything. Just the flat truthfulness of a man who has said the true thing and does not need it elaborated. "All right," Anakin said. Rex nods once. Goes to rejoin the unit at the base of the steps. Anakin stands alone. The city spreads below him in every direction, lit from within. The night Coruscant makes of itself, restless, enormous, indifferent to the people moving through it, and the decisions they make in the buildings that rise above it. The temple behind him rises into the evening sky, 5 spires catching the last of the daylight above the cloud layer, and holding it the way things built to last sometimes do, burning with light that has already left everywhere else. He reaches to his belt. His hand finds nothing there. He has done this for 5 years without thinking. The habitual reach, the confirming touch, the weight of the weapon he built and has carried through everything the war could produce. His hand finds nothing, and the nothing is not a small thing. He is not a Jedi. He is not a general in the Republic's conventional sense. He is not the Council's chosen one, or the war's hero, or Palpatine's most promising investment. He has put down every one of those identities today, in a chamber on the other side of these doors, one by one, and what is left is the thing that was always underneath them, the part that was never institutional to begin with. He is thinking about Palpatine. He will keep thinking about Palpatine. The Chancellor's offer, whatever shape it finally takes, does not evaporate because Anakin chose differently once. The patience that has been building this for years does not exhaust itself in one reversal. Whatever Palpatine is, and Anakin is no longer certain what that is, but he is certain that it is something. Something with a design and a depth that should concern him considerably more than it did this morning. It is still present. Still watching. Still calculating whether the variable has become unworkable, or whether the next application of pressure will produce the intended result. What Anakin has is this. He walked into the trap with his eyes open, and came out the other side with something the trap did not account for. He can see the whole architecture of it now. The cultivation, the patience, the careful positioning of Palpatine as the only honest voice in a room full of institutional failure. And the honest voice was right about the failures. The Order did choose process over Ahsoka. The Council did expel her without evidence. These things are true. What the trap got wrong was the conclusion those truths were supposed to generate. Because the conclusion required him to be alone, desperate, without alternatives. Arriving at the point where the power offered in the dark looks like the only power available. And he spent 9 days demonstrating that there is another kind of power. One built out of 32 men choosing to be present, and a girl choosing to come back, and a captain who said they'd make it again without hesitation. That power does not make him safe. It does not resolve the war or fix the order or close the trap that is still, undeniably, standing open somewhere in the city below him. But it is real, and it is his, and it is, for the first time in years, something that belongs to him rather than to the plan someone else made for him. This was the only way to become the person she needed him to be. Not the chosen one, not the Council's instrument or the Republic's sword or the Chancellor's project. Just the person who came. Just the person who looked at 12 masters agreeing that the institution mattered more than the girl, and found that he couldn't agree, and acted on that. Just himself. He looks at the city for a long moment. The 501st has reached the base of the steps. He can see Rex at the rear, can see Fives and Jesse already moving with the easy confidence of men who have completed the operation and are ready for whatever the debrief produces. They are not waiting for him. They do not need to. They know where he is, and that he will move when he moves, and that the formation includes him whether or not he is currently in it. He turns from the temple. He walks down the steps and into the city, and Coruscant receives him as it receives everyone, without ceremony, without acknowledgement, with the vast indifferent continuity of a civilization that has been running for 10,000 years and expects to keep running regardless of what any individual decides on any given evening, on any given set of ancient steps. The spires catch the last light behind him. They hold it briefly, burning gold above the cloud layer, and then the city's own luminescence rises to meet the dark, and the spires become part of everything else. And the night comes in, and Coruscant hums in every direction, full of everything that comes next. Let us know what you'd like to see next. The end.